Hi, I'm Eric Siegel with ericstrains.com. Well, here we have a fan favorite. Today we're going to be checking out Lionel's newest 3-rail O-scale rendition of the Southern 280 Consolidation number 630. Okay, so like I said, this is a 280 consolidation type steam engine. And for you newcomers, let me explain what that all means. 280 refers to the wheel arrangement on the engine. It's talking about the number of wheels on the lead truck, the number of drive wheels, and then the number of wheels on the trailing truck if there is one. So on a 280, there are 2 wheels on the lead truck, 8 drive wheels, and then there is no trailing truck, so that gets a 0, and it's a 280. Now, why are these called consolidation type locomotives? Well, years ago when I first heard the name consolidation, I didn't know what to think. I thought maybe it was some sort of financial consolidation program on a part of the locomotive builder, or maybe it was some sort of government consolidation program. I didn't know. But it turned out it was very simple. Consolidation was the name of the first 280 steam engine that was built by Baldwin. And so since it had that name, that entire class of locomotives, 280s, became known as consolidations. So here in America, that original 280 consolidation was built by Baldwin in 1866, and the very reason for its creation was hauling heavy freight. The railroads needed an engine design that could haul heavy freight through the mountains and other rough terrain, and that's exactly what these things did. They became known for hauling impressive loads at unimpressive speeds. They were versatile workhorses, and because of that, they became extremely popular both here in the US and across the world. Now let's talk about the history of the Southern 630 consolidation. Now, Southern 630 is very popular with rail fans today because it is actually still in service up in Tennessee, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Now, the original Southern 630 was built for the Southern Railway as part of their KS1 consolidation class in February of 1904 by Alco. It served on the Southern until 1952 when it was retired, and at that point it was purchased by the East Tennessee and Western North Carolina Railroad, and it was renumbered to number 207. It served there until 1967 when it was traded back to Southern for use in their steam excursion program, and at that point it was renumbered back to 630. The 630 ran excursion trains for the Southern until 1978, when they had to replace it with some larger steam power to haul longer and heavier excursion trains. At that point, it was donated to the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum to pull light passenger trains, and it did that until 1989 when it was retired again. It sat inactive for a while, but eventually they began a massive 13-year restoration program on the 630, and it finally returned to service in 2011 to participate in Norfolk Southern's 21st Century Steam program. So it's always cool when one of the engines that I review is still around today, and that's the case with the 630. If you go to the Tennessee Valley Railroad Museum, you can see the 630 and it is still in operating condition. All right, now let's talk about Lionel's rendition of the 280 consolidation and the Southern 630. Now, these were first offered in Lionel's 2015 Volume 2 catalog, and then these things started to be delivered in mid-2016. Now, they are available in 6 different road names. There's the Southern 630 that you see here. There's also a Nickel Plate Road, a Western Maryland, a Union Pacific, a Milwaukee Road, and a Southern Pacific. The overall length of this model is right at 19 inches. The weight of the engine is 4 pounds 7 ounces. The weight of the tender is 2 pounds 8 ounces. So that gives us a combined weight of 6 pounds 15 ounces. This engine has right at 1 pound 6 ounces of pulling power, and the minimum required curve to operate this engine is 0.31. So this engine is very friendly to layouts with tight curves. On the inside, this engine is driven by one large flywheel motor. There is a dual smoke unit to allow smoke for both the smokestack and the whistle steam smoke effect. And then back in the tender are the electronics for legacy command and legacy rail sounds. As usual, there are 3 ways to operate this engine. The preferred method, of course, is to use Lionel's legacy command system, as that will give you access to all of the engine's advanced features. However, you can also run the engine with Lionel's classic TMCC command system, or you can run the engine conventionally with just a transformer and some track. Alright, so now we're going to zoom in and take a look at some of the details on this engine, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you right off the bat that as far as detailing goes, this is not a super high-end engine. This is sort of a mid-level entry. A lot of the detailing on this engine is cast in rather than separately applied, and that's because I believe this is an older tooling that Lionel is reusing. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. All the train manufacturers do that. That's how they make money, and we do want Lionel to make money. But because it's an older tooling, it is going to be less detailed. Now, why is that? Well, because over the years, as time has progressed, we've expected more and more detailing. So a tooling that was made, say, in 2002 is not going to have near as much detailing as a tooling that was made in 2016, because back in 2002, the expectations were lower, but in 2016, we expect a lot more. So because this is an older tooling, it's going to have less separately applied detailing and more cast-in detailing. Also, when it comes to the detailing on this engine, there are some inaccuracies when compared to the real Southern 630, and that's because Lionel did not create this tooling specifically for the Southern 630. This is a generalized 280 tooling that has a Southern 630 name on it. So if you're looking for a super prototypical model of the Southern 630, it's not going to happen here, but this is still a really cool model that's a lot of fun to run. So now that I've put all that out there, let's go ahead and zoom in and take a look at the details. So here we have the pilot. We've got a nice little cow catcher here and some steps on either side. There's a dummy scale coupler here in the middle. Now, normally you can take these off and replace them with a dummy O-gauge coupler, but in this case, I don't think it can be removed. And then right here, we've got a separately applied coupler cut bar. As we move around, here's one set of cylinders. It looks pretty nice. And then you can see the beginning of all this great looking running gear. And as we move down, there's all the drive wheels, and it looks really good. Under the cab, of course, there is no trailing truck, but we've got some nice detailing up here. Here's a look at the side of the cab. We've got these 2 nice red windows. However, they do not have clear plastic inserts in them. They're just empty, but they still look nice. Underneath that, we've got a nice looking Southern 630. On the inside of the cab, there are 2 hand-painted crew figures. The back head is modestly detailed. However, it does have a red glow in the firebox when the engine is in operation. And then in front of the cab, you can see some of this nice cast-in detailing and the start of the 2 separately applied handrails that run down either side of the boiler. The rest of the side of the boiler has that modest cast-in detailing that I talked about earlier, and then here's the continuation of that handrail. Here on the front of the engine, things look pretty good. We've got some nice rivet detail going on. There's a separately applied grab iron down here. We've got a couple of operating marker lights up here, as well as an operating headlight in the middle, and then lighted number boards on either side of the headlight. Up on top, we've got the smokestack, and there is a fan-driven smoke unit down in there. And of course, to load smoke fluid into the smoke unit, you pour the smoke fluid directly down the stack. Behind that, we've got a sand dome with a 630 on it. And then back behind that, we've got a little brass bell. Moving back, we've got a steam dome here, and then we've got the whistle, and this engine is equipped with the whistle steam smoke effect. So when you blow the whistle, it looks like steam is shooting out of the whistle, and that's because there's a little hole under the whistle assembly here, and smoke blows out of that hole when you blow the whistle, and it looks like steam shooting out of the whistle. It's really cool, and this is actually one of the better whistle steam smoke effects that I've seen on a Lionel engine. And the reason is because you can't see the smoke hole. It's hidden under this whistle assembly, so you don't see any hole. All you see is beautiful smoke shooting out of that whistle. Behind the whistle is a separately applied dynamo generator, and then on top of the roof we've got some nice rivet detailing and a cast-in vent. Here's a look at the back side of the engine. If we take our little light and Stick it inside, you can see some of the detailing on the back head. It's pretty modest, like I said, but there's the red light for the firebox glow. We've got a couple of separately applied grab irons back here, and then down here is the drawbar, and sitting on top is one of two infrared sensors that allow the electronics in the engine to communicate with the electronics in the tender. Here's a look at the gap between the engine and the tender. There is no drop plate between the two, but the gap itself looks okay. Here's a look at the underside of the engine. We've got 3 pickup rollers here in the middle. There are 2 traction tires on the last set of drivers, and then underneath the cab on this side there's a switch to turn the smoke unit on and off, and then on this side you'll find the run program switch. Alright, that takes care of the engine. Now let's check out the tender, starting with the sides, which look pretty good. We've got separately applied grab irons on the corners. We've got die-cast metal truck side frames down here that are nicely detailed. And in the middle, we've got some nice rivet detailing and a nice crisp 630. On the front of the tender, most of the detailing is cast in, but we do have some nice steps down here on the corners and some nice cast in toolboxes up here. And then right here is the other end of the drawbar, and sitting on top is the other infrared sensor that allows the electronics in the engine to communicate with the electronics in the tender. On the back of the tender, we've got a couple of separately applied steps on the corners. There's a separately applied coupler cut bar right here. There's an electrocoupler which can be thrown from the Legacy or TMCC remote. We've got an add-on metal ladder, a couple of operating marker lights, and then an operating backup light. On the top of the tender, we've got a real coal load, which is a nice touch. And then we've got a water hatch here, and if we open it up, it reveals the master volume control for the engine. Finally, here's a look at the underside of the tender. We've got 2 pickup rollers, 1 per truck. The speaker for the sound system is right here. We've got some add-on detailing here. And then on this side is the sensor for the Lionel LCS sensor track if you use one. Alright, the last thing we're going to do before we start this thing up is BF-IMO, best feature in my opinion. Well, the feature I like most on this engine is actually the whistle steam smoke effect, and not because it's a new feature or anything like that, they've been doing it for years, but just because of the way it's done on this particular engine. You know, on most other steam engines, because of the configuration of the physical whistle, they have to put the smoke hole right under the whistle, and you can actually see the smoke hole. It's not a big deal, but you can still see the hole, and it takes away from the realism just a little bit. But on this engine, you can't see the smoke hole because it is directly under the entire whistle assembly. It's completely hidden, and so all you see is beautiful smoke shooting out of that whistle. It looks super realistic and really cool. So best feature in my opinion is that whistle steam smoke effect. Okay, let's go ahead and start her up.
This is the dispatcher. Do you copy? I copy that. Over. Very good. Start up and hold. Yes, sir. Start up and stand by. Out.
So first up, let's check out the whistle. Now let's check out the bell. Here's the sound of water being added to the tender.
My water's full. Over. Copy that. Out.
Here's the sound of the steam blowdown effect. And here's the sound of coal being loaded into the tender.
My coal's full. Over. Acknowledged. Out.
And lastly, let's check out some of the always popular crew talk dialogue.
Dispatcher here. Please stand by. Over. Copy that. Standing by. Out. Dispatcher here. Take the green. Over. Clear signal. Very good. Out. Tower, in position, ready for our next run. Over. Roger that. Welcome back. Out. Dispatcher, are we still clear all the way? Over. Yep, you have a clear track. Over. Very good. Making good time. Out. This is the dispatcher. All clear inbound. Over. Thank you, sir. Approaching now. Out. This is the dispatcher. Come to a full stop. Over. Acknowledged. Full stop. Out.
All right, let's go ahead and move it out.
dispatcher. We're signing out and going to be out.
All right, that about wraps it up for this review. As you've seen, this is a gorgeous little engine. I love this thing. Now, if you're interested in purchasing one of these, as I said earlier, they are available in 6 different road names. There's the Southern 630 that I have here. There's also a Nickel Plate Road, a Western Maryland, a Union Pacific, a Milwaukee Road, and a Southern Pacific. So there's plenty of variety out there. Now, regardless of which road name you buy, the price is the same. The retail price on these is right at $800. Although if you go through a good Lionel dealer, you should be able to get a little bit of a discount off that retail price. And as always, if you're looking for a good Lionel dealer, try my favorite train store, which is Legacy Station. You can find them on the web at www.legacystation.com or give them a call at 770-339-7780. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm Eric Siegel, and I'll see you next time. To discuss this model or any other O-Gauge trains and to meet other O-Gauge modelers, check out the O-Gauge Railroading Magazine online forum at ogrforum.ogaugerr.com. On top of the tender, we've got a real coal load, which is a nice touch. And then back here, there's a water hatch, and if we lift it up, no, it doesn't want to lift up. Oh, there we go.